There we go. We got it. It switched it back to bobdubs. I'm gonna have to go delete those. Okay, so this is actually cosmic weave. Let's playlist goes on live stream and save. Yeah, that's annoying. Alright, so we got that going. It's set up and ready to go. So here we are. Let me go through and check the audio, make sure everything sounds good. Let's start out with Beam real quick. See if I can hear myself. Beam sounds good. Rumble isn't started yet. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, so we got Rumble set up. For some reason, it just keeps leaving a link on Kick or on X instead of the actual stream, so that's kind of getting on my nerves. Media library. Go to producer. See what it looks like there. Because right now it's not doing it. That sounds good. Yeah, now I have to start going to X Pro instead of going onto my profile and seeing what it sounds like there. Okay, so I know D-Live sounds good. I'll hit it again. Let's see what Twitch sounds like. Twitch sounds good. X sounds good. So we're set up. I'm going to mute out for a second. We got 4 minutes. Put a song on for you.
Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles. Thrust 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles. Thrust 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles. Mr. Robot rolled around a rolled round, and if Mr. Robot rolled around a rolled round, where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Mr. Robot rolled round. Mr. Robot rolled round. And if Mr. Robot rolled around, and if Mr. Robot rolled around a rolled round, sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles, plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Theophilus, this where the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles, plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles. Mr. Robot rolled around or rolled round, and if Mr. Robot rolled around or rolled round, where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Mr. Robot rolled round. Mr. Robot rolled around or rolled round, and if Mr. Robot rolled around or rolled round, where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Hardly had his Hail Highness heard the easy hedgehog when he hit the humming bee by the hunter who had horrible beetles in the human hall. I love to hear the horse's hard iron hooves go hammer, 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 hammer on the easy highway. I hit my horse hard. I'm going out to hunt up hogs. Theophilus Thistler. Theophilus Thistler. Theophilus Thistler. Theophilus Thistler. Theophilus Thistler. Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter, is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles, plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Theophilus Thistler, thistle sifter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of The Cosmic Weave. Today is going to be the beginning of a new series that I am doing, and this one is going to be something to add to the variety of weirdness that I've been bringing to the wonderful world of weirdness. I hope you enjoy. If you haven't noticed, I have been doing a lot of different content than what originally the channel used to bring, and this is adding to that so that we can have a variety of different things that are coming on. Now, in the description, I've mentioned that this, in my opinion, is probably the most popular, unpopular subject that you'll see on a lot of things, ranging from lost lost empires or lost civilizations to UFOs, but nobody ever really gives focus to it. What I wanted to do, and I've been wanting to do it for quite a while, this has been something that I've been working on for a while, is create a series like this to where I can talk about some of the stuff that I've done concerning my research over certain topics. So it's going to range from a lot of different things, but hold on. It's going to from a lot of different things, ranging from science all the way to philosophy into ancient lore, also into the science, the human body and the mind and how it works. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and get on with the topic. A large mass of matter located in the dorsal part of the brain, known as the diencephalon, integrates, filters, and coordinates sensory and motor inputs for brain function. More than just a function of mere relaying, instead ensuring the high order brain functions like perception, cognition, and movement run seamlessly and efficient. Clusters of nerve cells and specialized functions making up nuclei within the brain receive input from various sensory and motor systems, while sending output to different areas of the cerebral cortex. The nuclei are responsible for processing specific types of information too, each serving a different function. The primary relay center for visual information coming out of the retina to the visual cortex is the lateral geniculate nucleus. Here, visual input is filtered and organized before being transmitted to the brain for more processing. Also, the medial geniculate nucleus processes auditory signals, relaying the information from the inner ear to the auditory cortex of the brain. Both sensory nuclei ensure that sensory inputs reach the correct region within the cerebral cortex, which allows us to perceive our environment. If you touch a hot surface, a signal is relayed through the thalamus, allowing us to quickly remove our hand from the surface. The ventral posterior nucleus processes somatosensory information such as touch, pain, and temperature. The ventral posterior nucleus is important, allowing us to perceive physical sensations and coordinate responses based on a sensory feedback loop. Motor coordination depends on both the ventral lateral and ventral anterior nuclei, which are crucial components of the motor circuitry within the brain. Receiving inputs from the basal ganglia and cerebellum, they relay these signals to the motor cortex that govern voluntary movement. Motor control would be fragmented without this seamless integration, leading to difficulties in performing smooth and purposeful actions. Acting as a critical filter, the thalamus, adjusting the intensity, timing, and synchronization of signals within the brain. This regulation of precision and fluidity in movements is necessary for activities such as walking, riding, and playing a musical instrument. The thalamus also regulates states of consciousness, sleep, and wakefulness, as well as helping to generate and maintain oscillatory rhythms within the brain. This is crucial for sleep patterns, especially during low-wave sleep. The thalamocortical neurons, through rhythmic firing, synchronizes with the cortex, which creates brain waves, which determines different stages of sleep. While awake, the thalamus selectively allows certain stimuli to reach the cortex, acting as a gatekeeper of sensory information by filtering out irrelevant noise. This enables us to be alert and pay attention preventing sensory overload by controlling the flow of information to our brain. The thalamus allows us to focus on things like a conversation in a crowded room, regulating which signals reach conscious awareness. The pathway known as the cerebellothalamic ensures and facilitates the transmission of motor information from the cerebellum to the cerebral cortex through the thalamus, contributing to balance, coordination, and motor learning that are integrated into the brain's overall motor plan. Once the once the cerebellum makes adjustments, fine well, once the cerebellum makes adjustments, fine-tuning movements, it sends these signals of sensory input to the thalamus. The thalamus then relays the information to the motor cortex, which ensures the final motor commands, which issues the final motor commands to the muscles. In order to maintain posture, adjusting the force of muscle contractions, and executing skilled motor tasks, this constant back and forth communication is needed between the cerebellum and thalamus. Through neuroplasticity, too, the brain also has the ability to reorganize itself through new neural connections within the thalamic circuits. Genetic underpinnings of thalamic development and functions, the thalamocortical loop, and the dynamic interplay between the thalamus and cerebral cortex is essential for memory, paying attention, and decision making. The thalamus is a hub for communication, integration, and coordination, playing a vital role in nearly every aspect of the brain's function, from motor control and sensory processing to consciousness and emotional regulation. Its connection to other parts of the brain, particularly the cerebellum, also maintains a delicate balance for smooth and coordinated movements. Unique insights into brain function and plasticity have revealed personality as well as cognitive changes because of the influence behaviors from different parts of the brain. Unexpected cognitive recoveries have occurred due to the brain's ability to reroute functions over time. Where once people were hardworking, responsible, and well-liked before an injury, afterwards they became erratic, impulsive, and socially inappropriate, being rude, profane, and often using vulgar language that they'd never used before. This suggests damage done to the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is responsible for impulse control, decision making, and social behavior. Likewise, the sensory cortex processes touch and spatial awareness, which, if damaged, would cause paralysis or loss of sensation in parts of the body. The brainstem also controls vital functions like breathing, heart rate, and consciousness. The middle cerebral artery supplies much of the brain's oxygenated blood. These areas control memory, emotional processing, and consciousness as well. The limbic system is involved with emotions and behavior too. Neurons can rewire themselves, allowing undamaged areas of the brain to take over lost functions of damaged areas, sprouting new dendrites and axons to reroute information. If the left hemisphere is damaged, the right hemisphere may take over some language or motor functions. Through repetition the brain is capable of rewiring the motor cortex, allowing individuals to regain partial function. When a specific brain function is lost, nearby or distant areas of the brain can compensate over time. The visual cortex can also be repurposed to process touch and sound over time. Even the prefrontal cortex can be rewired, allowing a person who to went through social changes to regain normal social abilities. Through synaptic pruning, the brain strengthens useless neural paths. Uh, the brain strengthens useful neural paths and weakens useless ones, and repeated use of a pathway strengthens it. Even communication skills can be regained by retraining undamaged language areas of the brain. The brain re- the brain redesigns its map of function. Neurons that fire together wire together through reorganization, compensation, and training. The brain is able to compensate and adapt to damage that may have been done to it. Now, the reason why I wanted to get into this and do this reading and talk about this as the first part of the Cosmic Weave is because there is this is connected to a bigger theme that I personally feel could be um, a, it could be a pretty good a bit pretty good answer to a lot of issues that people have. I know that for probably since the beginning of time, we've always asked ourselves where we came from, what, why are we here, and things of that nature. And I believe that if you read the material, you can actually come up with some pretty interesting ideas and some theories that could actually be um, it can actually be logical, not only scientifically, but also for people who believe in the paranormal or UFOs or, strange, unusual things. And that's one reason why I wanted to get into it because for me, when it comes to the human body and nature around us, if we look hard enough, I believe that we can actually find out a lot of answers to things that seem so mysterious to us. And the human brain is where it all starts. For me, I wanted to bring up the thalamus. The thalamus is actually an interesting um, part of the human brain, which I believe really is is interesting, and it connects a lot to things that are going on now. Later on, after this episode, I'm not going to discuss it now, but later on, I am going to start talking about the equilibrium and what that means. Okay, but I'm not going to discuss it now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this dorsal part of the brain. Okay, it's known as the diencephalon. Sorry for my reading capabilities. When I hear big words like that, I have a hard time um, talking about that. The thing that I know when it comes to the human brain is that this brain that we have is very, very complex. everybody talks about computers and things of that nature, and they don't realize that our human brain, the physical brain that we have inside of our head, is way, way more complex than even the computers that we use every day. Um, and when you get into reading about the human brain, you start learning about this freaking mass of matter that's located in the dorsal part of the brain, known as the thalamus, gray matter, and things of uh, that kind of stuff, and it functions, as as a as a mediator, basically. You know what I mean? It does functions like relaying information back and forth to different parts of the brain, but it also um, does brain functions that allow you to perceive things, cognition, perception and cognition. It also helps you to move, uh, movement. It helps your movements to be, seamless and and efficient. Basically, it regulates all of that stuff just in your everyday life. Not only that, but it regulates your body. Okay, so that is something that I really wanted to get into and talk about too. This brain that's inside of your head regulates your body with or without your permission. It just does it on itself. It actually regulates itself too. You know what I mean? That is something that really, really uh, is impressive about that. If your brain is having a problem, you probably wouldn't even realize that you're having a problem, and it would take care of itself. That is a pretty amazing thing that the human brain can do. That's something that I did want to bring up, which is very important. Not only does it receive input like from different sensory and motor systems within your brain, okay, but it also sends the input um, out. So you have the stuff going to your motor systems. It goes to this cerebral cortex and things of that nature. Um, Now, that right there is something. Now, the thing about the thalamus that is pretty interesting is it's really undiscovered country. They really don't have very much information about this. Me and Mr. Robot did a stream a while back, and we discussed this really well in detail about how the human brain works. But we never got into things like the thalamus and things of that nature. Um, Now, the primary relay center for visual information coming out of the retina to the visual cortex, it's called the lateral geniculate nucleus. That's the one that I had a hard time with, but it's called the geniculate nucleus. Now, that visual input is filtered and organized before being transmitted to the brain for more processing. Um, Now, they also have something called the medial geniculate nucleus, which processes auditory signals. So you have visual and auditory signals, and that is relaying information from the inner ear to the auditory cortex within the brain. Now, both of these sensory nuclei ensure this sensory inputs receive the correct regions within the cerebral cortex, which in turn which in turn allows us to perceive our environment. So, whenever you're looking at things and you're seeing things, that's where it's all taking place according to your ears and according to your eyes, that's all being relayed back through your brain. And that's something that's very important for you to understand. Like the things that you see and you hear are actually being transmitted from the outside world into your brain and being um, it's being turned into information, basically being transmitted within your brain. It's a sensory, waves and stuff of that nature. So that's something that 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 you need to remember if you continue to listen to this series, because it goes even farther than that. We'll start talking about the equilibrium later on, like I said, but I wanted to start it out by discussing the human brain and all of that. After that, I got into talking about signals. Yeah, that's what I should have said. These signals is what is being transmitted to your brain after you perceive all of these things through the eyes and the ears. But after that, I started talking about touching a hot flame. Like if you go in and you accidentally touch something hot, a signal is relayed through the thalamus. Okay, that tells you that you've actually touched that hot surface, and it allows you to quickly remove your hand from the surface. Um, Now you have sensory. Uh, you have sensory relays, basically, I guess is what the best way of calling it. And how that was actually supposed to be pronounced was ventral posterior nucleus uh, processes. And this is somatosensory information, such as touch, which allows us to perceive the physical sensations and coordinate responses based on a sensory feedback loop. So you have this information that's a feedback loop going on in your brain. It's not just feedback, but it's a feedback loop. Anybody who knows what a loop is can quickly understand what they're talking about. So this is what takes place whenever you touch something that is hot or something that might be painful. You know what I mean? And these are things that are set up into your brain. Um, Now you have the ventral lateral and the ventral arterial nuclei. Now these are components of the motor circuitry within your brain. Um, uh, they receive inputs from the basal ganglia and the cerebellum, and they rely on these signals to the motor cortex that govern voluntary movement. So in order for you to move around, you have to have this stuff going on inside of your head. This is just to move. If you're moving around, you're looking around, you're seeing things, your eyes are pulling in information, and if you hear something, your eyes or your ears are hearing information. Now, why is this important? Because there is something that is important that I will be getting into, and you may think that it's a little bit crazy, but it is true. Now, with the thalamus acts as a filter, okay, and it adjusts the intensity, timing, and the synchronization of signals within the brain. That's according to what science says. All right. Now this regulates the movements, um, your movements, okay, and that are necessary for activities like walking, riding, playing a musical instrument, stuff like that. Now, the thalamus also regulates your state of consciousness. It also regulates your sleep and the things that are going on when you're awake. Um, it also maintains like uh, oscillatory rhythms within your brain, and that's where I was talking about where it takes care of itself. The thalamus actually takes care of your body in the background. Like imagine you have a program on your computer and you don't want it on there. You want it just to play in the be in the background. That's what the thalamus does. It takes care of your system in the background without you even knowing what's taking place. So these are very, very important. Okay. Um, Now, whenever this is the part where I get into it becomes interesting. You have this part of your brain that is working in the background, sometimes without your even knowing what's going on. It just regulates and filters things that it feels that you um, what's needed and what's not needed. Okay, so this is where we talk about it. Now, now think of it like this. Um, you have sleep patterns, especially during low waves sleep. Okay, and that's where it's the most important. But then you have what they call the thalamocortical neurons, um, and these, through rhythmic firing, synchronizes with the cortex, um, which creates brain waves. Okay, and that determines different stages of sleep. So while you're asleep, man, that's what happens. It's actually doing this. Now, th- this is where it gets interesting. That's what it does when you're asleep. But when you're awake, the thalamus selectively allows certain stimuli to reach the cortex. Now, this is something that I've discussed with Nancy Planeta before about your brain and how it will freaking filter certain stimuli so that information that it doesn't seem necessary, it's not deemed important, doesn't reach the cortex, where information that it feels is important reaches the cortex. And what it's doing is it's acting as a gateway of sensory information, and it filters out irrelevant noise and things of that nature, and things that may, I don't know for sure if this is possible, but I will check into it more. But I also believe that this process could also do the same thing for things that you can't comprehend. Like if it's beyond your comprehension, your mind will literally just filter it out, make it to where it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Or it'll make you see something that you can comprehend that makes sense to you. But if you don't understand it and you don't comprehend it, then it's not going to be there. You know what I mean? This is something that reaches into every aspect of like paranormal, ufology, and supernatural things. You know, things that take place around us. You know, this would also explain things like why some people say they see ghosts, some people say they see UFOs, and then others never see a ghost once in their life, or they never see anything paranormal in their life. They never see a UFO sighting or anything of that nature, you know. And even with that, it goes even deeper because, like, when you see a UFO, are you really seeing what you think you're seeing? Okay, and I always use this as an example, but the girl that played on, oh God, Resident Evil. Okay, she played in a movie about a woman in real life who lived up in Alaska, and she was a psychologist, and she would have patients that she would put under hypnosis who claimed that they had been abducted by aliens, or I don't think at first they even said that. They just had these weird experiences, and in their state of hypnosis, they would see owls. And eventually, she got it to where they could see what it was, and they started finding out that it was actually aliens and that they were being abducted. And that is what really got me interested in this. This kind of goes into the parapsychology side of things instead of the paranormal, you know. So my question is when you're seeing these UFOs, is that really what you're seeing, or are you seeing only what your brain is capable of manifesting something that you're able to comprehend? So you know that what you're looking at defies everything that science says is possible. You have a circular disc that is flying in the air. It makes real fast shifts and real fast movements that no airplane could ever make. Um, so, what's to say that in reality, what's happening is your brain is visualizing something that you could comprehend that goes against all logic. It goes against all science. It's incapable of doing the things that it's supposed to be doing when it comes to physics. You know, um, what if that is what your brain can comprehend and it visualizes that for you? But in reality, it's something else. It's something that your brain isn't really able to comprehend. You know, that's something that I believe could possibly be true. So that's the thing that I wanted to bring up when it comes to that. That's a really really important thing when it comes to this topic. So um, okay, so with that, I wanted to uh, go on to the next part. I just checked the chat too. Raj Ram says, "Good evening, everyone. It is an interesting topic tonight." Thank you, Raj Ram. I appreciate that. Um, now, after that, another thing that really sticks out to me is like you have your brain that allows you to have all these sensories, the sensory and stuff going on in your the sensors, I guess you could say, in your mind. It allows you to feel hot objects. It also allows you, you know, it regulates everything in your brain, what you see and what you hear. If you touch something hot, it warns you that you're touching something hot. It even maintains your posture so that you can walk straight and things of that nature. And this is all done through the thalamus, okay, and the cerebellum. Um, and this is a constant back and forth communication, okay, between that and between the cerebellum and the thalamus. And it needs to be that way. But then on top of that, we get into neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is something that is very, very interesting. This is probably the most dynamic part of the human brain. Now, if if your brain is damaged, or if something happens that changes parts of your brain to where it doesn't function the way it should, your brain will literally rewire itself. It will create new neural connections uh, within the thalamic circuits, and this is all connected again, like I said, to the thalamic. It's interesting that it does that. I just did strange stories where I was talking about people who survived traumatic injuries and everything, and it talks about this. It really mentions that, and I believe that that is a very interesting concept that I do want to get back into neuroplasticity. It's very, very interesting. The thought that the mind can actually rewire itself, and not only that, but it can rewire itself um, through repetition. If you practice repetition and habit, you can actually rewire the way your arm works or the way your hands work. If something isn't working on your body, um, they call it therapy these days, but what it basically comes down to is repetition, doing the same thing over and over again until you can regain a certain amount of well, what you need your hand to do, movement, things of that nature, or eating, or even talking. If you have if you've damaged your brain to the point where parts of your language system within the brain is damaged, you can actually practice and practice, and your brain will reroute itself so that you can start saying words again and be able to get some of your language back. If not all of it. It all depends. But that even goes with saying words and talking, things of that nature. It's also capable of doing the same thing when it comes to blind people when they lose their vision. If they lose their sight, they can actually learn how to adapt with their hands and their senses so that they can read Braille. Okay, and that's a pretty amazing thing. That's something else that is a part of neuroplasticity. So you have these abilities that are inside of your brain. Now, besides that, what else I wanted to get into too later on is the fact that, and I like I said, I did do a stream with Mr. Robot, but I didn't go further with this. But you have um, these neurons. You have these um, that are firing off. They're electrical neurons that are firing off inside of your brain, and they're transmitting this information back and forth, and that is something right there that I believe isn't just within the physical body. I believe that can also connect to things that are outside of your body. It just doesn't extend just within the brain and the body and sending information back and forth to the body. Um, I do believe that these relays, that's the best way of saying it. I believe that's what they are, but they're relays that transmit information. And whenever um, the neural network is damaged, it reroutes itself so that it can make it to these relays and fire off. And when they fire off, you have electricity that shoots off inside of your head, which I believe is also another thing that I'd like to talk about eventually. But now, with this, I believe that there is possibly a good connection there between us together as well humans, as well as being connected to the cosmos. You know what I mean? I believe that there is a good chance of that happening, and it has to do with the sensory cortex, the thalamus, and the human brain, and how we transmit information back and forth. Now, when it comes to what I was saying about the human body and the things around us and looking around and observing things, I'm pretty sure that if you look at the world and how the world works and you relate that to um, subjects that are like about aliens or UFOs and do they exist and stuff like that, and what kind of beings would they be? I'm pretty sure that you could determine for yourself what kind of beings an alien would be. You know, look at us and look at our civilization and how we are, and don't get grandiose. You know what I mean? Because historically, we've always done that. We've always made aliens out to be this superior race that was way above us, and they were beyond all of these horrible things that human beings have done. But look at it. Look at the way we act. Okay, what makes you think that they wouldn't be any different than what we are? I mean, I have a flat screen television. It doesn't mean that I can go and I can fix a screen television. If my television breaks down, I couldn't fix it. I can change a bike tire. I can fix a bike chain. I can do things in our car, you know, but there's no way I'm able to do that. When it comes, I can't go out and I can't build a nuclear bomb. There are some people who can, but I'm not one of those. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm like that, why wouldn't there be aliens who are like that, that are just average individuals who don't know how to fly a freaking spaceship? But hey, man, they can go freaking clean up the freaking bathrooms. You know what I'm saying? Or they can do this or that. So that is that's one thing that I believe a lot of this is pertinent for. You know. Um, and it does. It has to do with observing things that are around you and realizing that these things are connected. Like, just because we have these great ideas of what these beings are doesn't mean that that's the facts. I mean, you could probably determine what's going on with the cosmos by just sitting out on your back porch and watching the animals, watching the birds fly by, pay attention to the squirrels, all the, you know, things of that nature. Look at your neighbors and how they behave with one another, and it would most likely make a lot more sense to you. And that's not saying that there aren't UFOs. That's not saying that there aren't, you know, intelligent beings that are much more evolved than we are. But that's just being logical about it. You know what I mean? And so that is one thing that I did want to bring up. Now, the whole thing about the neurons being able to rewire themselves. Before I end that there, I do want to say that the terminology for that is synaptic pruning. Um, and Well, synaptic pruning is actually something separate from that. It's where if you do have damage that's done to your brain, the brain can strengthen useful neurons that aren't used or for that usual task, and then after that, it weakens unused uh, neurons that can't be used. You know what I mean? Or the ones that aren't being used, so that they can strengthen the ones that you need. So that's something that I actually have to point out there. I need to be clear on that because that's very, very important. I will go through and I will check and see if anybody has made any comments. Um, so far, no. Other than, oh, yeah, there we go, Dragus. He left me some emojis. I want to thank you for that. He's on D Live. Also, I want to thank the Great Conspiracy for following me on D Live. I appreciate that. That's a great. I do appreciate that. Um, as well as that, it looks like we have everything. I also want to say thanks to Raj Ram for making a comment on YouTube. We don't get those very much on there. Joe asked uh, what we're doing today, and I think I've pretty much covered that in this stream. So I apologize for all of the technical difficulties that I had at first. I ended up getting it straightened out, hopefully on YouTube. I believe I've got everything up and running. Um, and I, this, like I said, is the first episode of this. I'm wanting to come in. I want to start out with discussing the human brain and the human body and kind of go from there. Now, that is the beginning. After that, I'm going to start going through and discussing things that go into the cosmos, basically. We're going to start talking about things that, like I said, are mentioned on a lot of these documentaries for UFOs and lost civilizations, and also some videos and stuff that have been mentioned. And we'll be discussing things like ley lines and things of that nature, and how all of that relates to the human brain. And like I said, if you pay attention to a lot of these shows and a lot of these streams, you'll notice that this topic is always brought up, um, and there is a connection. It's just a lot of people don't really make a point to bring this topic out and discuss it just by itself without adding a bunch of other things, like without talking about the pyramids of Giza or the ley lines, and um, um, what else, sacred geometry and stuff like that. Just this topic, that's what I'm going to be getting into. Next time I come in, I am going to have a lot more information uh, about various different topics that relates to this. It's going to be historical as well as philosophical. There's going to be parts about science and the way the human brain works, things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting. This is one of the topics that I've really been wanting to get into for quite some time. It's going to have a lot of information that I just talked about, but it also um, is going to have to do with a lot of duality and dualism. And to really understand what's going on, you have to understand the difference between duality and dualism. Um, Dualism is two opposing forces that are constantly uh, in conflict with one another, whereas duality is two opposing forces that complement one another. So with duality, or with duality, you have like birth and then death. Okay, you have both of them, which are the opposites. They're two opposing forces, but they don't battle against one another. Um, they actually uh, they actually go with hand in hand with one another. You're born in this world. You die in this world. There's no there's nothing different there. That's just the way it is, and everybody experiences it. You know what I mean? That's a duality. So that's a duality where a dualism is good versus evil, the battle between good and evil and things of that nature. So that, in short, is the difference between duality and dualism. Just so you guys understand, and that's going to be a part of this discussion as well. So there's going to be a lot of philosophy that's involved in this too, as well. Um, and yeah, I will I'll be bringing this episode back again. Today is Saturday, I believe. I was having an issue with what I was going to do uh, today. if it was going to be the Cosmic Weave or if I was going to start conspiracy theory up. I may have said that it was conspiracy theory in another stream that I'd done, but I couldn't tell you, to be honest. So what I did is I just came out with the Cosmic Weave, and I set it up to where we're going to have it on Saturdays. So I actually probably forgot to put it in the description below. So on YouTube, but I can take care of that later on, and it'll be on there. Um, so that if you guys want to find out what shows that I do have going, you can just check out my YouTube channel if you guys are on YouTube, and it'll give you all the shows that are available. Now, the shows are on Rumble. They're also on X as well as D Live. And I do stream on Twitch, but I do not save the streams. As soon as we're done, there's no recording of it. I've decided to do that since some recent changes took place to Twitch, where they have like a 1,000 uh, 1,000 gigabytes or some 100 gigabytes or something like that of memory for saved videos, and I'm getting so tired of that I just finally decided, you know what, if people want to check me out live, it's cool, but I'm not going to save that stuff. You know what I mean? It's just not worth the time or effort. So what I did is I just went ahead and set it up to where you can watch the live stream as it's taking place, or don't worry about it. It's on Rumble, X, D Live, and YouTube as well. So I will be having this on Saturday, and since we are coming to the end of the season for Mysterious Ancient Mysteries, after tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last episode for this year on Ancient Mysteries, but after tomorrow, I'll be coming out with Conspiracy Theory, which is going to be good. And Raj Ram asked, "Do you often have live stream?" And yes, Raj Ram, I stream every Wednesday. Not for the Wonderful World of Weirdness. I stream on Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have other platform or other channels that I do as well, which that's actually going to be new episodes coming out too. That is for the Praetorian that's starting up, and that one is going to be on Friday nights at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is usually when I do all of my streams. So 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and oh my God, it's what 10 a.m. GMT over in England, General Motors time. But yeah, that's when I generally do my streams. So if you want to stop in and check out the show, feel free to come in and have a chat with me. I appreciate everybody for being here. If you did like this stream, please like, subscribe, share, make comments, because believe it or not, the comments are very important. They really are. Not only are they important for the algorithms, but I enjoy having conversations with people. You know what I mean? And Raj Ram says, "Thank you. YouTube recommended your channel to me, and I'm happy I subscribed. I'm excited to check out more of your content." I appreciate that, Raj Ram. And thank you for coming on to the stream and actually talking. It's like I was just getting ready to say, comments to me, I love them. I love it whenever it comes to that. Come in and, talk in the chat. Also talk in the comment sections. I respond pretty much to every comment that people makes to me. So it's a big deal to me. I like to actually talk about the things I stream about. So if you have any feedback, put some feedback in there. Just like my buddy Jaffe says, don't be a dick about it, though. You know what I mean? If you have a problem or with the stuff I say or you disagree, you can still say it, but just don't be rude. Remember, we're all in this together. So like I said, if you like this stream or you like this episode, please like, subscribe, share, make comments, and give some feedback. And I will talk to you later. I do appreciate everybody for being here, and I hope that you have a good night.